Ben Shabino, our boy, our little handsome little Jewish boy, Ben Shapiro, is going to be debating Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he's going to get fucked. I saw Vaush, he covered this, but I only saw the end, so we're fresh. Is Ben wearing a Gucci fucking shirt? Is that Gucci? Oh my god. That's fire, bro.
the advent of science. One of those areas is the area of transgenderism. The argument that is typically made by gender theorists is that gender is entirely separate from sex. You've seen the argument made that it makes no difference on average if men are stronger than women are, and that if we were to allow transgender women to
Nope. Nobody said that. No. Nobody said that there's no biological strength difference between men and women. Nope. Nobody said that. You're just lying.
Compete with non-transgender women, then this would somehow not disadvantage biological women. And this
I mean, like, if trans women go on HRT for long enough, and they actually, they are pretty comparable to cis women. So, no, that's it. Yeah, you're just wrong. Sorry.
Seems to me absolutely ascientific that if we're actually going to have a discussion about gender and sex, that should be based in data, which suggests that mammals aren't in fact binary in terms of their sex, unless you have intersex birth defects.
So then they're not binary. Wait, so they're not binary then, Ben? They're not binary. Binary, guys, means 0 or 1. There is no 0.5 in a binary. There is no 2. It's 1 or 0 in a binary. One or the other. However, you do have intersex people and people with deformities. Ben Shapiro just doesn't count them because it's not convenient. I don't know why you wouldn't count these people. They're real people that exist. If there is even one person in existence that breaks the binary, then they've broken the binary, because that's how binaries work, Ben Shapiro. You fucking moron.
Or genetic defects.
I'm happy to opine on this.
Please. Crucify him.
This only matters because today we segregate nearly all sports by gender. Otherwise, why do you even give a shit? What's someone identify?
Exactly. Why does anybody give a shit? Ben Shapiro doesn't give a shit about women's sports. He doesn't care at all. None of these people care about women's sports. I've seen so many conservatives talk about how women's sports is like fake and lame, and like they just like to go so they can see like titties bouncing. That's like
so
they don't care at all.
We live in a free country, and with consenting adults and people free expression of who and what they are.
Man, on adult level, I agree with you. I think it does matter what you teach.
No, you don't. You don't agree. You don't agree with that.
The matrix of what you are biologically, how you express yourself, who you choose as a sexual partner. If we actually live in a free country, as we tell ourselves, people's freedom to behave in any of those ways should not concern you at all. Nor are they requiring that you behave that way.
True.
Okay? This is for their own freedoms.
Ben. Yeah, you're not forced to do that. You don't have to be. No one's force feminizing you, Ben. Even though I'm sure some people would love to see femboy Ben. I'm sure there are people that are into that, but nobody wants
a free
that.
country. Now, what is unresolved here is what do you do with sports? It's unresolved.
Who cares?
And
I actually think it's a pretty easy question. I really don't think it's like unresolved. I think if a trans person has been on HRT for long enough to the point where they're like physically comparable to women, or to like your average cis woman, then it's fine. Who cares? Yeah, there obviously has to be like some line drawn where you can't just like walk up and be like, yup, I transitioned 3 days ago, brother. Like, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's fine. You know what? Yeah, if fucking like Hulk Hogan comes up and is like, yup, I transitioned yesterday, brother, then like, fine. You know, he does. Yeah, then that person should probably not be allowed to participate in sports against other cis or trans women. But if Hulk Hogan, I mean, maybe Hulk Hogan would be an exception because I don't think any amount of HRT could reverse that fucking freak of nature. But yeah, I mean, your average athlete or like your average person, if they start transitioning when they're like 16, 17 and they start going on hormones, or even if they receive hormone blockers at an age before that, I mean, they're going to be comparable to women. Like, I'm sorry, do you think it's like look at fucking, I don't want to get like anecdotal here, but like, look at fucking ContraPoints. ContraPoints, you just like push her over and she would just like fall on the ground and die. Like, like I'm sorry, these people aren't like, trans women aren't this fucking like muscle bound freak menaces of society. And then the other issue is that trans men oftentimes are muscle bound freaks of nature that probably shouldn't be competing against cis women. But under Ben Shapiro, like, this is the problem. Ben Shapiro's ideology can't deal with a big buff trans man. You can't. He can't do it. I can. Our ideology does that perfectly. If a big buff trans man wants to participate with big buff cis men in a sport, go fucking have fun with that. But under Ben Shapiro's logic, that big buff trans man is a biological woman. So the big buff trans man under Ben Shapiro's worldview should be wrestling or boxing or whatever, competing against little cis women. That, because in his eyes, they're both biological women. I mean, they are but biologically, like a trans man might still have like a vagine and a uterus. But again, gender and sex are not the same thing, and gender is not determined by your biology. It's just not, because any qualifier that you would use to make it out as if gender and sex are linked to one another inherently excludes people that don't deserve to be excluded. Think of any qualifier that would be biological. If, I don't know, you could define being a woman as having a uterus. Well, there are plenty of cis women who are born without uteruses or wombs or whatever. That you could do this with any piece of biology. So, hey, you know what? Maybe let's just have the most like sensical, inclusive view of gender that includes as many people as possible. That's what I think my definition of it does. Ben Shapiro's, this includes tons of people that are cis, that he in another sentence, because he has a lot of cognitive dissonance here. If he were to bring this up in another context, he would think that all those people deserve to be like cis or deserve to be like women, you know? Does that make any sense?
Follow that closely, and I don't see any meaningful solutions to come down off of that. We know that hormones manifest differently in different people, and just the whole thing with steroids. Steroids are hormones, right? And
he's right about
rallied
this.
against steroids in professional sports because it gives you an undue advantage. So I've tried to think of what the future of sports would be in the world of a gender spectrum. And it may be, you don't specify whether it's a male or female sport. You just take measurements of what your hormonal balances are. And so you compete.
You could
based
do that.
On
you probably could.
This is a thought I had. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, you probably could organize it like that. I mean, my argument would be that, like, I think the gender divide is fine as long as people pass like a certain bar of I mean, I don't know. I guess it kind of, it's not a great position. It sucks, but I mean, if we're gonna keep the gender divide in sports, which I think there's some merit in keeping that, I mean, I think, yeah, probably having some type of like hormonal measurement might be the best route for trans people. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, it is a difficult subject, and it is largely, I mean, I guess it is unresolved. I said a second ago that it wasn't, but I mean, it's resolved to the extent that it's like, okay, if someone goes on hormones, like, they're at a certain point, like, the data does show that they are comparable to cis people. So in that sense, it is resolved, but then obviously you have to draw some sort of arbitrary line. So in that sense, it is unresolved.
The
WNBA won't be in business for very long if that's the case.
It would just be you'd have to
Oh no,
find some
changing
way
society,
to
bro?
compete
Oh,
people
guys,
against each
that
other
sucks. I hate
if
changing society.
you still care that sports is an interesting activity.
I guess the area where it does come up in a non-sports area.
Yeah, tell me, 'cause I don't know.
So it would be, you talk in your book about the education of children and teaching children about science. And right
Yes.
now, children are being taught about the quote-unquote gender spectrum, which is not scientifically
Yes,
based.
it is.
That is a
Yes,
theory-based
it is.
idea.
Yes.
No, wait, hold on.
It is. It is. Oh, he's about to own him. Ready?
People express themselves on a spectrum.
Yep. That's
So
just
you
observed.
learn
That's
that.
just what
That's
that's observed.
that's
science.
that's a social
Yeah,
social
sure.
point, not a scientific point.
It's
both. It's both. Oftentimes they mix with one another. I'm sorry, sociology is fucking science, guys. I'm sorry. You might trigger some fucking STEM lords in chat, but sociology is fucking science, bro. It literally uses the exact, like, this. You're using the same methodology. You're doing the exact same thing. People just disagree. I disagree with sociology. Man, that's literally it. It's just people get triggered at sociology as a concept. That's literally all that's happening here. I've taken a bunch of biology classes. My degree is in political science and evolutionary biology. Studied both of those things. Guess what? You employ the exact same statistical methods broadly. Like, obviously the methodology isn't going to be perfectly the same. No two studies even are going to be like that. That's obvious. That's just how this shit works. But yeah, it's the same methodology. You're doing the exact same thing. You're just studying different things. One of them studies biology. The other one studies social trends and shit like that. But you're employing the same, like, you're doing t-tests and you're doing fucking ANOVA tests. You're doing regressions. It's the same. You do it. Yeah, one of them is just like, oh, how fucking big did these plants grow? And the other one's like, oh, how many of these people commit a crime? Like, it's the same shit. You're doing the same thing, just one of them is on a different subject. It's the science. Like,
meaning we express ourselves
hold on.
based in different languages. Is that something you teach in science class, or is that something that you teach when you're teaching language?
That would be something you teach in science class.
So
you could.
Whether the fact that people want to express themselves on a spectrum, on a gender spectrum, whether that fact is something you want to put in a sociology class or in a science class.
It belongs in both. It's a fact. It belongs in both.
Maybe that remains to be determined. But it is a real fact about real society.
Well, of course, nobody's denying that people identify how they want to identify.
You are. Wait, you are the one doing that. You're saying that it's invalid to identify that way and that there isn't a spectrum. But there is. You're just dumb. And okay, holy shit. Even if sex and gender were like completely the same thing and that we were just to reject the concept of gender, even if you were to do that, it still wouldn't be a fucking binary, dog. There are still intersex people. It's not a binary. If there are intersex people, it stops being a binary at that point. It becomes a bimodal distribution then. That's what that becomes. It's like a fucking it's like a Venn diagram. That's how I like to picture it. It's like a big Venn diagram. Or you could do it as like here, let's pull up. Let's do it. Let's do this. Paint stream, boys. So let's say you have a fucking graph. Okay. And then you have more feminine, more masculine, right? And this is talking about sex. So more feminine goes woo. And then for masculine it goes woo. And these are all the collections of traits that you might have that are like considered more masculine in a biological sense, right? And then you get these more feminine traits over here, right? What about this middle part? There's a middle part there. There's overlap. There are things that are shared between what is considered biologically feminine and biologically masculine. That there's an overlap there. The other way I like to think about it is, how the fuck can you clear this? The other way I like to think about it is as a Venn diagram. That also helps. It's essentially the same thing. There's overlap between male and female and some of the aspects that define male and female. So fuck you.
The question is, what is the relationship of that to biology? Meaning that the argument is made that trans women are women, for example. And what that
woman is not a matter of biology, Ben. You just don't understand. He just doesn't get it. It's like, it reminds me of talking to like creationists and people who deny evolution, and you get them, you think I'm a fish? No, you think I'm algae? No, you have a common ancestor with fish. Do you like it just comes down to there's like fundamental things that these people don't understand or refuse to understand. And for Ben Shapiro, what he refuses to understand is that gender and sex aren't the same thing. So someone's gender can be woman, and they're a woman and a woman, and they're also a woman. However, their biology, I guess, would be male, but that doesn't mean that they're not a woman. That's just that's how it works, Ben. I'm sorry. You just don't understand that there's a distinction here. He should understand that, considering he's wearing a suit and a yarmulke, which are gendered clothing. There's no biological reason why he has to wear a fucking yarmulke. He wears a yarmulke because he is part of a religion that tells men that they should wear a yarmulke when they're out in public. That's gender, my boy, my dude, my brethren of the tribe.
Seems to mean is that trans women are identical to women. Now, if people want to say trans women are not biological.
No, but nobody said that they're identical. It just hasn't. Nope. Straw man. Lie.
Obviously, that is the case.
What a
but
weasel
people don't
little
seem to want to say
liar,
that,
dude.
although that is obviously scientifically true. Trans women are not biological women. Biological women are biological women.
But where are you going with this?
That and also, so trans women are women. Their gender is woman. Biologically, they might have a wiener or testicles that produce sperm. So yes, they have the traits of being biologically male, but they're still women, Ben. They're still women. Hey, you know what, Ben? You have a lot of traits that are that of a biological woman, because all men do. But you're still a man, Ben. You're a scrawny little bitch who couldn't grow a fucking beard if he tried to. You're like a 13-year-old boy, Ben Shapiro. But despite all of that, you are still a man, Ben. Yeah, you're still that. I still respect your identity as a man, even though I could probably create some sort of nonsensical methodology that goes, oh, well, technically under this set of methodology, Ben Shapiro is biologically female. If I could try to create that, but that would be fucking wrong, because it's a matter of identity.
What are you trying to accomplish by asking yourself, is it science or is it not science? It's people in society.
But this is a perfect example of an area where suddenly it doesn't matter to say things.
It's a matter of the material world. If people are out and about doing a thing and they're exhibiting a type of behavior, the purview of science is not to go, blah, that's bullshit. That's not science, but the biology. It's not like, no. Your goal as a scientist would be to go, oh, all these people in society are like exhibiting this thing. This is like a thing that we're observing in the world. The next question would be like, okay, why are we doing that? What can we do to like help people and make their lives as good as possible? That's what science then needs to do next.
Things that are just true.
Oh, fuck.
Like why is it bad or wrong?
I have another way to approach this. I care what is objectively true in the world as a scientist. But let me not say even as a scientist. I just simply care what is objectively true. And science happens to be a pretty potent path to invoke.
Inject in a little bit of postmodernism in there, a little bit of epistemic anti-realism. Pretty based. Yeah, that's pretty based, actually, from Neil deGrasse Tyson. I actually thought this was really interesting. I think this is really fucking interesting. He said that he wants to pursue objectivity, which I agree. I also want to pursue objectivity, but I don't think science. See, that this is. I agree with him here. Science isn't like objectivity. That's not what. Science is a potent path to pursuing objectivity as best as humans could possibly do that. Smart, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Find out what is true.
Genius
and
shit.
So
big brain shit right here.
If people express themselves on a gender spectrum and that is an actual thing in an actual society. If we have not fully explained that scientifically, that's an interesting frontier to study. If you want to say it's only sociological,
Ben Shapiro's like,
then it's the purview of the social sciences. I don't care who studies it. It's an interesting fact about society that's worth learning about.
Yeah, that's the thing. Ben Shapiro is just like denying demonstrable empirical reality at this point. Like, yeah, we observe that people behave as if gender is a spectrum. And gender is a product of society. So if we treat it as that, then it's that. If that's how humans start existing. And I mean, humans have long existed this way. It's not like trans and non-binary people are like some new concept. I've talked about this on stream before, but there's the Mucks, the Hedra, the Hoyas, Two-Spirit people. This has existed. Like, fuck.
To fight someone and say it's not biological, it's just your this. It's real and it's there.
Well,
because it's real because it manifests.
But it is real because it manifests. But the question of how to classify manifestation is a scientific question, meaning that, for example, there was a woman over at Brown University. She came out with a study that suggested that there was a phenomenon called rapid onset gender dysphoria. In which
no, he did not. No, he didn't. He didn't just. Ben, you are dunk your fucking head in the toilet and flush it until you pass out. You fucking idiot. Oh my god. He really brought this stuff. Come on, man. Come on. You can't just pull out the rapid onset gender dysphoria paper, bro. Come on. Oh my god. You can't. Man, what is that? Okay, if you don't know, that study is just like fake. It's just bullshit. It's based on, well, okay, it's not fake. Like the data's real. It was it wasn't like falsified or anything. The problem was that the methodology was dog shit. The data was collected by interviewing the parents of trans and non-binary kids. So the parents, let's just be like the parents, not actually the kids. They didn't actually document their experience. They asked the parents, and they were specifically pulled from like right-wing TERF message boards. Like, unironically, that's where they got the data from. And then the study got pulled for good fucking reason because it's a horrible methodology. And then these people cried and bitched about it, and it got reinstated. But if you actually go and read the study, which I've shown it on stream, there's like a big asterisk that's like, hey, this is kind of like fucking questionable. And like, yeah, I mean, it would be like, I'm trying to think of like an example. It would be like trying to make it out as if like scurvy was a huge problem plaguing the United States, but then the only people you polled on the prevalence of scurvy were pirates. Like, that, it's like that fucking dumb.
A member of a particular.
Oh my god, there's an 80% occurrence of scurvy in Americans. Well, yeah, we only pulled like 10 like pirates, yeah, like actual literal pirates from the 17th century, but
so a group would suffer from gender dysphoria, and this person's immediate peer group would suddenly have an onset of gender dysphoria. This paper was so controversial that Brown tried to pull it, and then was forced to reassign it later. You see this sort of treatment.
That's a different question. What you're asking now is.
And of course, Neil deGrasse Tyson's not going to be intimately familiar with the study. I was kind of hoping he would be, because he is like a scientist. He should be like up to date on this shit. But I mean, you can't. The only reason I know about this is because of fucking Vosh's research document. That's the only reason I'm aware of this study at all. And that's just because I'm a fucking political science major who's obsessed with making fun of conservatives on trans issues. I don't think Neil deGrasse Tyson really like cares that much about this issue.
Are there some topics that should not be studied scientifically?
Right.
And is there some taboo? And Sam Harris speaks a lot about this.
Yes.
And
I mean, there definitely are scientific pursuits that probably like shouldn't even be attempted, like eugenics. Like there's something, and like skull measurement, stuff like that should probably be off the table, like flat earth pursuits. Those are things that I think, should probably be off the table. But again, Neil deGrasse Tyson isn't familiar with this study, but the study, this isn't even really a discussion about like academic freedom and like censorship. It's just not. So this is a matter of like, oh, somebody presented bullshit data and a bullshit study with terrible methodology, and it got rebuked by the scientific community. That's not censorship. That's not people losing their academic freedom. That's just making science functional. Like our scientific institutions aren't functional if you just let like flat earth papers go through with no peer review and like we have a peer review process for a reason. You have to be able to replicate studies, and you have to like have your colleagues look over your studies to make sure that they're actually based off of reasonable methodology. In this case, that wasn't
I
what
think
happened
the
here
concern
with the study.
is if you study some topic
But Neil's
that's a
not
hot button
this,
topic,
so whatever.
and you bring scientific methods and tools to it, we don't trust. I'm interpreting here. I think we as a society don't trust that people in charge in a free country won't try to legislate something that will constrict people's freedoms in the face of that information. I think that's the fear.
Well, isn't that?
It's a fear.
I mean, and isn't that?
We don't trust our own ability to govern ourselves in the face of what could be some information relative to other kinds of information.
Isn't that a bit of a problem?
Yes. Yeah. It's not. It means it's not a free society. It's not a society of free inquiry.
Yeah, but that's Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is the one who, not only does he stand in the way of free inquiry because he labels like everybody who talks about trans issues as corrupted by the SJWs. They're all like, he does that. He also is against letting trans people have like free and open access to HRT and shit. So, fuck
Which
you,
I think
Ben.
you need,
it's
ultimately,
you. It's always them. It's the thing, dude. Conservatives project so fucking hard. It's always them. They're always the ones doing the bad thing. It's always them.
Yeah.
My general take on all of this stuff, from climate change to gender dysphoria to all of these issues, is bring out the science and then let's hash it out. I think that the problem I'm seeing on a lot of sides is
that already happened, and that already happened, and fuckers like you poisoned the well 7 years ago. Like, yeah, back in fucking like 2014, the well got completely fucking poisoned because any inquiry into gender or transness or any of this shit, that was all immediately labeled in like the most derogative way you could ever fucking do it. Everybody was labeled an SJW who is corrupted by cultural Marxism and shit. Fucking God, Ben.
Motivation.
It's you. You did that.
Why does that matter?
It matters because if you have political power, you could end up creating legislation that subtracts freedoms from people who previously were enjoying the same freedoms as you. The history of that exercise
then make a better argument.
Doesn't end well.
Well, but the history of which exercise? Bring out all the science and let's hash it out.
I'm saying if you bring out all the science and the politicians hash it out, the history of that exercise is a recipe for disaster if it involves discoveries that put people's freedom as defined in our Constitution at risk.
But
I mean, this is absolutely true. So science exists mainly as a pursuit of the empirical. It is then the responsibility of philosophers, politicians, people like that, to then interpret those results and then implement them onto society. But yeah, what he's essentially, he could have maybe explained this a little better, but what his point here, I think, is essentially that like trans issues, these are a matter of people's like personal identity, their body, their freedom to live individually how they please. So yeah, you do need to be incredibly careful when you're doing scientific inquiry into these things, especially then when you're mixing it with highly ideologically based buffoon orangutans like Ben Shapiro that will swing around the room throwing shit everywhere at all the trans people. Like that's what we have to deal with. Unfortunately, we have to deal with that type of shit in our society. So it's important that we're incredibly responsible about our scientific inquiry and about our rhetoric.
Now you're arguing for limitations on areas of particular study.
No, I'm arguing
I mean, he is, but those limitations exist to preserve people's freedoms. Like, yeah, there is some sort of limitation to people's ability to pursue fucking like eugenics and other forms of science that we would consider unethical. There are ethics in science. You can call that censorship if you want. Yeah, you can call that cultural Marxist SJW fucking censorship all day if that's what you want to do. But yeah, this is just like basic scientific ethical reasoning. I don't know.
We need a way to we need a way to protect people's freedoms in the face of whatever gets discovered scientifically.
Yep. So I'll give you. I agree. I think that's what the Constitution is for.
Of course.
To guard rights
but you don't agree with that. Your pursuit into transgender issues and into like gender theory only exists insofar as you can continue to marginalize LGBT people. That's Ben Shapiro. That's you.
But we're always fighting.
Like he supports all the bills that make it more difficult for trans youth to get HRT. That's him. He's the one who's against fucking puberty blockers and shit.
People who want rights are always fighting others who are saying they don't get the rights from the Constitution. This is a daily challenge on the progressive left. It is a daily challenge, right? Here's an example. I forgot how I ended up getting this phone call. It was some magazine that serves the gay community. And I remember why, because they wanted my opinion on, they wanted my opinion about whether being gay was biological or mental.
Right, there's that new study that came out, this vast study.
Or psychological.
Right,
okay?
Right.
Ben Shapiro and his studies.
And
he loves
I said,
so much.
I don't care which it is.
Based. Fucking just, dude, that was so fucking good. I love that. I love that fucking response from Neil. That was so good. Yeah, who fucking cares? If you find out that being gay is a product of your genetics, or it's just like a product of I don't know, being in society and experiencing certain things, which it could be a mix of the two or whatever. Yeah, it doesn't fucking matter. Who cares? You shouldn't then create policy that tries to like change these people or try to make their lives worse or more hard. I mean, the thing is with conservatives and people like Ben is they want to make it out as if being gay or being trans is something that is like highly sociologically determined or highly like psychologically determined and based off of like choice, because they want to be able to make people not gay or trans. That's like generally why they like to push that route, which is like, but to me, I mean, gay people could just be fucking gay. I don't care if they're influenced by their society or their peers. It literally like wouldn't even matter. Who fucking cares? If somebody's gay, they're gay. It doesn't matter.
Find out what it is. Fine. But the answer to that question should have no consequence on legislations or laws.
Based.
Because, for example, suppose it said
such a good answer.
Purely biological, okay? Then you say, oh, that explains it. Suppose it says it's purely psychological. What are you going to do now? You say, well, now you're going to go to the reorientation camps or whatever those are called.
Oh my God,
where they realign you because they say it's psychological rather than biological.
Coming into this, I did sort of think that like I assumed he would be like, I am a scientific logic STEM lord, bro. I follow the science, biology, beep bop boop boop. Trans women are biological men, but bop boop boop. I thought he would do that. I really did. But hey, you know what? Turns out Neil deGrasse Tyson's not a fucking moron. Like, ooh, sorry, he's not a fucking moron like Ben.
All of a sudden, people start behaving in ways in society that want to constrict the freedom of expression of who and what people are. And that is a danger. So maybe there needs to be a line in the sand. Let science do what it does, but politicians keep us free. Yet there's so many politicians that are doing the opposite of that.
So why aren't you a libertarian? I mean,
he is, but you're not. You're not a libertarian, Ben. He is. He is a libertarian. I'm a libertarian. You're not. You are not a social libertarian. In a social sense, you are absolutely not. In the sense that you want Mick fucking police to kick down our door, yeah, then you are, sure. Yeah, you are that. In that sense. And in like literally the worst possible way you could be a libertarian, Ben Shapiro is in fact a libertarian. That's true. But, you know, where me and Neil, we're actual libertarians. We actually want people to have their freedoms maximized because we have, like, it seems pretty clear here that me and him would agree that we sort of have like an axiomatic belief that maximizing freedom is good for human well-being. I don't think Ben Shapiro doesn't actually believe that. Libertarianism is just a fucking label that he can use in order to deregulate business and lower taxes for rich people like himself. And that's pretty much it. Oh, and he also will use it as a cudgel to make it out as if it's his personal freedom to be able to discriminate against gays. Excuse me, it is my deeply held personal religious belief based off of my freedom and First Amendment right that I can punch gay people in the face. How dare you and your big government tell me that I can't have the religious freedom to stone people to death in the streets? That's like, sorry to go there, but that's essentially what's fucking happening here with Ben Shablingo. God.